So, today we are going to be discussing a drunken peasants member on YouTube who died recently. Let's see if we can get the page up so you guys can see the picture. All right, there you go. John Crawley's cause of death revealed. TikTok star Kingbeard X dead at 47. John Crawley, cause of death. How did TikTok star Kingsbeard X die? All right. And they're basically announcing that his funeral obituary and all that kind of stuff. You know, the usual thing whenever anybody dies. Okay, so I guess I'll let you guys know what happened. Apparently, anybody that ever knew him, he used to be famous on YouTube, and also he was a co-host, a member from time to time on Drunken Peasants. He was your typical obese, fat atheist who cussed, liked racial slurs, was disgusting and perverted, extremely unattractive, was constantly feeding his face. And the times I remember him most on the Drunken Peasants is when Ben would be talking and you'd start hearing snoring into the mic, because Pimpmunk X, even though he was getting paid a little bit to be on the show, he was fucking bored of Ben. He found Ben extremely boring, like a lot of the other co-hosts before him and after him, and he would fall asleep. Now, Pimpmunk X is his original name that he used to go on YouTube. That was the funniest shit he had ever done in his entire existence. He considered himself like a comedian and a roaster and a person who was into pawnage and ownage. He got off on making videos attacking other people. Here you got this extremely fat, bald-headed guy that looked like a fucking catfish who was telling everybody else that they were fat and they were stupid. And of course, I was one of his main targets. It's interesting because my wife and I had talked to him behind the scenes a few times, and he seemed extremely pleasant and nice when we were talking to him one-on-one. But if I were to go on to Discord or go into a broadcast with him, or he would show up on my shit, he would get heinous and nasty, and he would actually use racial slurs while in my live show, knowing that it would get me in trouble and break terms of service and all that shit. It was weird. It was strange how when he and I would talk one-on-one, it was almost as if we could be absolute friends. But out in public, he wanted to embarrass me and humiliate me and just try to dissect me every chance that he got. Pretty shitty guy all the way around. His family pretty much thought he was garbage. He was like a typical atheist, always thinking he was smarter than everyone, mocked God on a daily basis, and couldn't keep any relationships together. And unfortunately, the sin of gluttony caught up with him. He was greedy. He made it clear that he did everything he did, attacked people, said the things he did because he wanted to get paid. And he wanted to get paid fast. He, unlike other atheists, he was actually honest about a lot of things. Like, for instance, he said, I don't want to fucking work. I don't want to have a job. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit on video, talk a bunch of massive shit, and get paid for it. And he goes, I don't care who I hurt. I don't care who I fucking destroy. I don't care if people end their lives after I roast them, as long as I get fucking paid, was his thought process, his perspective. If there is a hell, ladies and gentlemen, he is definitely in the front of the line on that, for sure. He better hope that I'm right, though. He better hope that annihilationism is the right theology for Christianity, because my view states that your soul will literally be annihilated. You'll suffer a second death, and you simply won't exist. You won't matter anymore. In reality, it's as if you never even existed at all. But if the other Christians are right, the ones who argue with me all the time, who believe in Dante's Inferno, then right now, as we speak, he is preparing for Judgment Day, and then he will be dropped into the lake of fire, where he will be screaming and crying for mommy for all eternity. That's what other Christians believe. I'm not sure, but to be honest with you, with the kind of relationship and communication I had with the guy, it almost makes me wish that the other Christians were right. It seems almost too merciful for a person like this to just simply be annihilated, even though there is a catch to it. Although I'm an annihilationist, that doesn't mean that I believe the soul instantly disintegrates. It could be that it takes 5 seconds. It could be that it takes half of eternity for a soul to completely disintegrate, since it was created by the very essence of God. He was cruel. He was a fucking bastard in every step of the way. He reminds me of a guy that used to pretend to be my friend called Happy Cabby. Happy Cabby was another 500-pound fucking horrendous abomination himself. This was a guy who made money by making YouTube videos and then going to children's parties giving out balloons and shit. And apparently, Happy Cabby, who was originally known as Paul, his real name, was fucking around with underage kids, and that ended up getting found out by the end of his career. Happy Cabby also made countless videos attacking me and accusing me of shit, and then it turned out that that bitch had a public record showing that he was a pedophile, that he actually was on the sex offender list and all that. This fucking horse, you didn't even need to look at public records to know this, but this horrendously ugly bastard would wear lipstick and all that, and then take off all of his clothes except for his underwear, and leap up and down on his bed and shit, and make videos of that for people. And then, of course, he would put himself on gay websites as well, and was perfectly fine with that. He wasn't completely homosexual. He was what you call bi. He would bang guys as well as females. That's if anybody, he could find anyone that was blind and willing to do that shit. Sorry, my wife made me a big old cup of hot cocoa with marshmallows, and it's absolutely delicious. I suspect, ladies and gentlemen, I am 48 now, and I'm going to be 49 come Christmas. I have thought for a long time that I don't have much time for this world because of my health issues and all that, which, by the way, this asshole made fun of all the time. You know, he actually told me in a live show one time, he goes, bro, why aren't you fucking dead yet? He goes, Brad, why aren't you, you're a piece of shit, you know? If there was a good God, why does he keep you breathing for? And interestingly enough, the same guy, at the end of his life, he suffered miserably. His death was not quick. It was not easy. They say that he was starting to suffocate, and he was starting to have bad problems with his heart, and it was quite a while before he finally shut his eyes and took his dirt nap. A miserable way to go out. Very painful, very horrible. Well, I know some people are going to be like, Brett, you're supposed to be a Christian, or you should show some compassion. I did. I already gave the guy compassion while he was alive. I tried over and over to be able to talk to him, and I tried to help him understand that life is tricky, ladies and gentlemen. It's very messy. You could be 6 months old and die. You could be a young female or young male who jogs, and you could be hit by a fucking bus. You never know when you're going to die in this world. So you need to get things set up. You need to try to have positive relationships. You need to try to love those who try to care about you. And don't be materialistic, because no matter how much money you make, off of fucking monetization or advertisements or sponsorships, whatever the deal, you're not going to be able to take any of that shit to the grave. And it don't matter whether you're religious or an atheist. When you fucking die, none of that shit's going with you. So you spend years and years of fucking people over repeatedly, and not a dime of that's going into your casket. There's no fucking slot machine. There's no coin hitch that you can throw a dime in and get it to do anything for you. I don't know if they're going to put him in a box and drop him in a fucking hole, or if they're going to cremate him. They're going to have to use an extra sized furnace for his ass, so he was a big boy. If they use a coffin, they're not going to be able to use a normal sized coffin. They'll have to empty the seats out of a yacht and then drop him in there and then put a boat over it in order for him to have a lid. And then they'll have to find some kind of crater hole somewhere in the ground where they can put his ass. A normal hole just simply won't do. And I don't know, what should we put on the tombstone? I guess was fucking ridiculous from the get-go, born absolute shit, died absolute shit from nothing to nothing. And that's pretty much how I feel about him. I personally wish he would have changed. I wish he and I could have actually gotten along and had friendly conversations. I would have been more than happy to invite him to my home and have barbecue with him and a cold one. But he just refused to be a fucking decent human being. And now, God basically got bored of him, got tired of waiting. Hell had plenty of slots open and just enough space to fit his ass in, so there it is. It's over. I've been around for over 20 years on YouTube, and that's not even counting how long I've been on the internet and social media. I've seen countless atheists as well as religious people die. I'm going to tell you something right now, ladies and gentlemen. Every one of those fucking people, all the hundreds of YouTubers and celebrities that I've watched die, they didn't know they were going to go. Some of them had a feeling that shit wasn't right, that the parts weren't functioning like they used to. When you start getting older, you start hearing the bones pop and you start feeling the organs hardening up. Taking a shit becomes a complex fucking wrestling match in itself. You have to start taking medicine for shit that you never even knew that you would need it for. You'll run out of energy quicker. You'll get more sleepier. But lucky for you, no matter how sick and tired you get, there's always going to be some group out there like the drunken peasants that are going to kick you in the fucking face while you're down and make you feel as miserable as they possibly can. Luckily, I'm Brett Keane, and I can handle all that kind of bullshit, but a lot of people couldn't. I heard that the drunken peasants continue to aggravate someone so much, and the amazing atheist fucked with a couple people a while back that also ended up killing themselves. So, yeah, terrible. Oh, before we end this, also another popular atheist YouTuber decided that it was so necessary for them to make money. They were also a popular Twitch user, and they would work with a couple guys. Well, they thought it would be cute if they told this guy basically they wanted him to sign a contract that stated that they would get to torture him for 2 weeks on video, and he had to put up with all of it, and if he did, he would get hundreds of thousands of dollars for letting his friends torture him. They did this obviously for controversy and views and all that. Think about it. Hey, 2 weeks, you get tortured, and we get to do whatever we want to you, and you get paid. So they pulled out their cameras. He signed the contract. Unfortunately for the guy, the atheist who died, the atheist unfortunately had some kind of disability where he had health issues, and also he was kind of slow. Very derogatory, a mocker and all that, and blasphemer, but unfortunately, on the other hand, the person was disabled and they had problems. Well, what they did to the Twitch user their own friend, as they call it. They tortured the person over and over and over by waking them up every time they went to sleep, jumping on them while they were asleep, throwing shit on the person, wiping their ass on the person. One person even pissed on the Twitch user, and they did all this on a live stream, and Twitch didn't do anything about it. This live stream went on and on and on. They didn't turn it off. And then finally, when they went in the room one more time and were wiping their ass on him and everything after taking a shit, they realized the guy wasn't moving anymore. He simply wasn't moving. It hadn't even been more than a week yet, and apparently died in his fucking sleep. These atheists thought it would be a morally good idea to torture him, and they did. And he didn't get his money because, well, he's fucking dead. They did perverse things to him. They even tried to teabag him, but they couldn't do too much, like nudity. Although Twitch and YouTube owe a lot of immoral things done by atheists, pulling down your pants and rubbing your balls on another man's chin is not, well, it's not dignified for terms of service, ladies and gentlemen, basically. So yeah, what atheists and humans will do for attention and views and fame, it's ridiculous. They'll sell their soul and they'll hurt people in order to make themselves feel better and also to get a paycheck out of it. People on social media, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, they'll lie their fucking ass off. They'll make shit up about the president. They'll make shit up about celebrities. They'll make documentary videos that are not true about other people as well as famous people, just so they can get that clickbait, just so they can get the fucking cheese. You know, whenever I was just starting out in Christianity, going from former atheism over into Christianity, I used to feel horrible. Like, how am I supposed to explain justice and love if God created a concept like hell and reality that people will go to? That used to be a real struggle for me. It really was. I used to think to myself that no matter what a person does, they don't deserve to be tormented or have their soul absolutely destroyed to the point where nobody in existence remembers them anymore, that they're not even an echo in the universe anymore. But after being around Catfish Face, John Crowley, and looking at people torturing other people in order to get some views, hey, I think God was on the money, right? I think that God knew that there was a lot of toilet shit out there that needed to be flushed. God had to create a giant toilet for fucking garbage and shit. You know? And sometimes, unfortunately, since God doesn't have like a sewer system or whatever, that wasn't ever set up. There's no plumbing in hell. So the shit basically goes through a hole between life and death, and it drops into this flaming pit where it's fucking burned like garbage out in the yard. And since there's no atmosphere or ozone layer, you don't really have to worry about all the fumes of shit coming up into the wherever. You know, nobody's complaining about climate control in hell. It's too fucking hot, and nobody's getting any tanning lotion, so it is what it is. Oh shit, my vapor's a little low. I'm gonna have to buy me some new ones today. Alright, well, that's all, folks. I'd say rest in peace, but not gonna happen, right?